think, and we sold an instalment contract. That's in East London,
City
2-bedroom flat.
Just opposite City Airport. And we made £40,000 on that property, which was £65,000 in negative equity.
Well, actually, we made £105,000 based on that.
If you add the 65 back onto the 40. But
Yeah.
we wanted to show you this purchase, because we're always running out of time with these things. But this is interesting because this is a standard, straightforward purchase with a buy-to-let mortgage, but using a very clever, creative financing strategy, which is a sort of a behind-the-scenes secret. And if somebody wants to ask me about it later on at the back of the room, I'll be happy to share that with you. But basically, we purchased 36 Jellicoe Avenue from a lady called Jane. The value of the property is £160,000. Jane's got a mortgage on there of £24,000, and when she came to us, she'd been trying to sell the property for quite some months, was unable to sell it for what it was worth, and we asked her what she wanted and what she needed. What she wanted was £160,000, but what she needed was she wanted to buy a caravan to put on a bit of land that she owned, and it was going to cost her £78,000 for this caravan. She was a gypsy lady that ended up living in a house which she didn't want to be doing, so she wanted to go back to the land and be with her horses and her grandchildren in the caravan. So, long story short, we agreed to pay her £110,000 now, which solves her problem. Buys the caravan, £78,000, pays off her mortgage, £24,000, and gives us some cash in her pocket. Now we owe her some more money, so we agreed to pay her another £25,000 later on, and a further point in the future. And we have an agreement which says that we will pay you this £25,000. So for those of you who are clever with arithmetic, you'll see that 110 and 25 is 135. So we've done a sort of a below market value purchase there. The reason for that, Mesud, was...
Next door was for sale for 135, and it was completely derelict. It was overgrown. I think it was a probate, and that property hasn't been visited by anybody for the last 3 or 4 years. So it was massively overgrown. You can't enter the garden, you can't enter the house. So I said to Jane, look, Jane, if next door is for 135 and it's still not sold, I'm afraid no way yours is worth 160. And she accepted it. And I said to her, look, we can give you 110, 25 in 60 months. Would that be alright? She said, okay, I need to move, I'll accept it.
So we went off to the bank to arrange a mortgage, 75% mortgage, based on a value of £160,000. I've arranged a mortgage of £120,000, 75%.
Buy to let, the mortgage works.
So we've given Jane £110,000, that bit there. So we've got 120, give her 110, I've got 10,000 left. So I've taken 10,000 cash back, and now I owe her £25,000, which I've promised to pay her later. So that looked a little bit like that. Borrowed some money from the bank, gave her a good amount of that, kept a bit back for myself, and then I owe her another little bit, which I'm going to pay her later on a legal contract. So that's the house.
3-bedroom, ex-council house.
Very, very simple.
This
property.
is next door, that was for sale for 135.
There's Jane and Mesud and their love child.
That was a mistake.
No, that's Jane's grandchild. And Jane was so happy with this deal. She was really very happy. She wrote us a testimonial on the day, and you see she's put there Doug and Mesud, and she spelt Mesud's name with a little heart, a little love heart, because she really did love Mesud for that particular deal. And how much did we make out of that?
Well, we sold them an instalment contract to again a first-time buyer. 2 doctors, Indian doctors, they were living all the way up in Luton, and this is in Gravesend, which is in Kent. Again, about 50-60 mile difference. And how do we move people from 60 miles away and sell a 3-bedroom house? Well, we sold them the opportunity. We never sell a house, remember, we sell an opportunity. Where else you can buy a house with £5,000 deposit and no mortgage required? Well, nowhere. So £5,000, we moved her in. Right, monthly cash flow, £606. Our TMW mortgage was costing about £550 and we were charging about £1,100. So £606 net cash flow from this property over a 60-month period, £36,360. Back-end profits, £57,000. Remember, we bought this property quite significantly below market value, okay? And we sold it 25% above market value. We sold it for 189,995. That's a significant lift. People will pay you more if you allow them to buy with low deposit and no mortgage. Okay, we don't have any risk of hikes in mortgage rates. If our mortgage rate goes up, the buyer's rate goes up proportionately. So even we make more cash flow. We have no voids. Remember, we don't move tenants in, we move buyers. No maintenance, no repairs. That's their new home. They've already went in there, spent a fortune on changing the wallpapers, the carpets. It's their house. No fees, no estate agent fees, and we even get late payment fees if somebody is late with their payment.
So we purchased this property using a standard buy-to-let mortgage. We haven't paid any money for the property because we've got £10,000 cash back in our bank. We sold the property on an instalment contract, and we made how much?
£100,000. How many of you would like this deal? Not everyone? How many of you wouldn't like this deal? Good.
So we're doing that using this contract called a JV contract, joint venture agreement. The joint venture agreement is bespoke. For each deal that we do, the contract is designed around that particular deal. In order for us to do that, we just simply fill in the blanks because the contract is already laid out for us. We just simply fill in the blanks, so it's not rocket science. Each contact enables us to, or each time we use this, it enables us to take immediate control over the property because it contains a power of attorney. The power of attorney basically allows us to do whatever we want to do with that property. It allows us to live in it, it allows us to sell it, it allows us to rent it. It determines the terms and conditions of the arrangement, and it also contains the length of the contract. It contains a third-party authority, which gives us authority to speak to the sellers or the property owner's lender if we're controlling a property. Remember, we're either buying or controlling a property using this contract. So the third-party authority enables us to speak to the lender on behalf of the property owner. And if we're going to take care of the mortgage payments, in other words, we're going to babysit the mortgage payments, then we need to speak to the lender to get certain information. And there's also a lockout agreement in there.
So you'll never get gazumped. If your seller signs this agreement, he is not running away from you. The deal is yours.
So give us 5 quick, simple steps.
Find a motivated seller. Control or buy with a single legal document, joint venture agreement, 12 pages. Find a buyer. Sell on an instalment contract. And make shed loads of money.
It's that easy. So recap, we looked at what is an instalment contract. We showed you how we're making massive profits from every deal, and we showed you some real life examples. We showed you the baby sits, if you remember at the beginning, how to turn lemons into gold mines, and we showed you how we're controlling and buying property using a single document called the joint venture agreement. There's some live deal structuring at the end of the evening if some of you have got any lemons or you've got any deals that you'd like to see whether would work on an instalment contract. We're going to do that here live after the meeting. Our offer to you very quickly, if anybody's interested in what we've said tonight and you would like to know more, we are running a 2-day instalment contract masterclass, but it isn't until the last quarter of the year, which is the 9th and 10th of November. It's quite a way off. So I'll very quickly give you some information on that. My 40 years knowledge of personal development, so we go quite deeply into the mindset of the investor on the first day. How to buy and control property with little or no money down. We learn the entire buying and selling process. How to sniff the deals in the profit in every deal. 101 ways to market property and market for sellers.
We do some more of deal structuring, step-by-step structuring of an instalment contract. This will blow your mind away. Research and marketing, how to research for properties, how to learn your market, master communication skills, how to talk to those people, how to communicate with them, and how to make them your friends rather than just a buyer and seller relationship. How to market for sellers, finding and converting buyers into satisfied homeowners. This will make you very happy because you'll see the joy in people's eyes when they buy your house. Building your professional empowered team, creating wealth for life. Also giveaway bonus, our best kept secret, our no money down strategy.
So just a couple of minutes left. That's £697 plus VAT. If somebody's interested in that, please come and speak to us at the back of the room so we can talk about getting you back onto that later on in the year. But for those of you that can't wait for that, we have an 8-set DVD box set, which was our last 2-day workshop was filmed, professionally filmed, and we've created this box set, which is £497 plus VAT. But for Norwich attendees this evening, if you enter Norwich 100, there's £100 off that if you want to take advantage of that, 397 plus VAT, and that's the website that you log on to, londonpropertyuniversity.co.uk/products. See us at the back of the room for more details on that.
You have also the leaflets on your chairs. For those of you who haven't got them, just pick the leaflets from your chairs.
And there's some bonus packs that we're including, which is all the legal documentation, every bit of legal documentation that's required, including the instalment contract, including the JVs, including the protocol packs, the IDs, etc., etc. Third party authority is included. That's a value of £997 by itself. Access to our closed Facebook group for only our students are on there. We're sharing ideas and sharing deals.
It's a brilliant place to do joint venture deals with other students who are really, really very successful.
And 30-day email support comes with that DVD set or with our 2-day workshop.
If you need us, write us an email, we'll answer your questions. If you need a deal structure, write us an email, we'll structure the deal.
The important thing is that when we take on a new student, what we want to do is to see them doing deals. So email support is very, very important in the early days to make sure that they get their first deals right. So Mesud wanted to put these in just to show the figures were true.
Only market around £17,000 profits, £5,600 profits, £70,000 profits, £5,000 profits, £5,000 profits, £18,000 profits, £29,000 profits, £51,000 profits, £50,000 profits.
Any questions? I think if we run out of time, otherwise we see it at the back of the room. Otherwise we'll probably take 1 or 2 questions before we go.
Go on, let's have a couple of questions. Who's got a question? Bill.
Mark's first.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to ask, what do the mortgage companies say about this when you sort of sell the house?
Well, we get a third-party authority signed, and we speak directly with the lender in order to gain information from them. They accept us as a third-party authority. There isn't a lender in the land that won't accept third-party payments, apart from HSBC and JP Morgan.
I'll give you a fact. At the moment, the mortgage arrears are all-time high, and they've never been so high mortgage arrears, percentage per property in the UK. So if there is somebody regularly paying somebody else's mortgage, do you think they mind?
No, I don't.
No, no problem at all. And next, Phil.
I listened to Richard Spencer talking once, and he was saying about the payments going into an escrow account. Was his view? Is that what you guys do?
Well, I think that's what you guys do if you're doing an option. To be honest with you, if you know about instalment contracts, you'll never do another option again. Because we were doing options in the early days, and then we cottoned on to instalment contracts. We gained a bit more knowledge, a bit more information. We would never dream of doing an option. Because you have to put the money in the escrow account, because there isn't certainty about will the guy walk away at the end of the option period, will the house prices crash and then he just walks away and leaves you with the debt and he's taken all the cash flow during the option period. So no, we don't use escrow account. No need.
Come on, give us a harder question.
Okay. Do you run an IST underneath this?
No ASTs. No.
License agreement.
License to occupy. There's no AST, so you don't have a tenant. They are a buyer. They pay their stamp duty, they exchange contracts.
And they're easier to evict with the licence. They're easier to evict with the licence.
Absolutely, yeah.
Much easier.
They've exchanged contracts. So if you and I exchange contracts on a property, and if you fail to complete the contract or I fail to complete, we all know what we can do in law, more or less. You know, some of us may know more than others, but there's a set procedure in law of what's available to us.
Do any vendors ever ask you for overage, for like payment afterwards as a secondary stage?
Any seller,
And any vendor, like a Bob, if a Bob says, okay, I'm happy to take this, but if you make profits in the farm period.
the JV agreement that we sign at the beginning contains all of the terms and conditions that we've agreed.
Okay.
That all goes in there from the outset. We stick to that, and they stick to that. There's no additional payments to be made because it's all contained in there from the outset.
We never had that actually, a seller coming later and asking for more money. Never.
No. Any more?
What's the highest mortgage that you've ever done with an instalment contract? As in the purchase of the property?
In terms of babysit or purchasing?
Well, both really.
Purchasing, we were looking at one just this week actually. That the property value, can you remember the property value was?
415. We were borrowing 295, I think, on a.
Well, yeah, about 300. We was
Yeah.
going to borrow about 300,000 with a value of about. We could have pushed the value to 450 actually, in order to borrow around about 290, 300. To be honest with you, there isn't a ceiling because there is always somebody who can't get a mortgage that wants to move into the property, that doesn't want to rent. So if you have a property worth maybe 4 or 5 million in a nice area, possibly in an area where there's some highly paid professional footballers. Now those football guys, a lot of them can't get mortgages today because they've got short careers, and the lenders have stopped lending to these football players because of their short careers. But you know they have good income, and a lot of them have some decent deposits. So they can't get a mortgage, but they still want to live in this big grand house, the same as their other team players. So they need a way in. So our way will, you know, if we can get into those guys through their agents, they're perfect buyers.
What's the highest in terms of a babysit? Where do they get stuff to get uncomfortable?
Can you remember?
The
Mesud got
Paracrow
figures.
was the highest. Was it 240, I think?
Parrot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Parrot Road. Yeah. Well, the value of that property was 200, just
Well,
under
the
300.
estate agent valued 350.
Yeah. So the value was. Well, we sold it for 275, I think, to an instalment
Mortgage
contract.
rate, you know, the mortgage rate was in that.
Oh, the rates. Well, the rates have got to work, haven't they? But we do carry.
Which
some
one had
high
the
rates.
worst rate? Let me think about it. There are like 5-year fixed mortgages with some babysits where because it was a 5-year fix, the owner has gone into arrears. Actually, the house that I live in at the moment, I bought it because of that, because the rate on it was 7.2 something. It was a very high rate, GE money, and they locked the seller in for 5 years, and she was in £32,000 in arrears, I think, massive arrears, huge arrears, and I knew that this is going to finish in 6 months. In 6 months, it's going back to standard variable. It's going to be 3.79, and I took it on that basis. Okay, I'm going to take this, look after the mortgage, and I know in 6 months' time it goes back to the standard variable, and it's going to be massive cash flow. So I pay the rate for that 6 months, and after the 6 months, when it goes back to standard variable rate, it's a nice deal. Sell an instalment contract, actually it's loads of money.
Exactly. Any more questions? Right. Big round of applause for Cromer Road. Right, we'll quickly